She did it at Cody's soccer tournament right when the other parents gathered around the snack table after the game. Nicole cracked a joke about weekend dads, and my wife Melissa tapped her water bottle with a car key and announced loud and clear, "We don't do equal in our house. Gerald tries, but I make the real decisions." She held that smile like a campaign poster. I set my coffee down. "If that's the case," I told the circle of parents, "then I'll stop pretending to handle the mortgage payment tomorrow. You can approve that decision too." Light laughter rippled through the group. Melissa rolled her eyes and went for another cut. "See? He gets defensive. It's cute for like a minute." If I'd known where that line was headed, I wouldn't have bothered with the joke or the coffee. I didn't fight her there. I just took Cody's gear bag, loaded it in the truck, and buckled Penny into her car seat, while Melissa held court with the other soccer moms. On the drive home to our house in Plano, she stared out the passenger window like the Texas suburbs were more interesting than anything I might say. I focused on the road, while the kids chattered about the game in the back seat. Our monthly budget was tight enough without adding marriage counseling to the mix. Between the $2,200 mortgage, $1,800 monthly child care for Penny, and everything else on our $85,000 household income, we needed teamwork, not performance art. Back home, lights low, kids finally asleep. She kicked off her cleats and reached for her phone. "We're talking," I told her. She didn't look up. "About what?" "About you doing stand-up at my expense." She scrolled. "It was a bit. You're too serious. You framed our marriage as a one-way street. You know what, Gerald? That's how it works anyway." She shrugged like she'd just explained basic math. I leaned against the kitchen counter. "That's not how it's going to work." She finally looked up. "Or what?" I kept my voice flat. "Or I changed the schedule, the spending, and the access to me. Content, calendar, all of it. Public disrespect buys private distance. That's the rule." She laughed once, short and sharp. "You'll live." I pointed at the dishwasher. "Tomorrow morning's yours." She set her phone down slow. "You're mad. So you're delegating chores? Come on." "I'm not mad. I'm adjusting. You like the microphone with an audience. I like clarity. We'll start there." She walked past me without a word, bumped my shoulder like I was furniture. Bedroom door closed. I stayed in the kitchen and listened to the dial tone of the new rule. Equal or separate, she'd test it. Of course, I was ready. The next morning, she moved through the kitchen with that chilly efficiency women learn from magazines and certain friends who love giving advice. She left her mug in the sink without rinsing, like a placeholder for someone else to fix. "Your turn," I reminded her. She kept moving toward the garage. "I've got an early client meeting." "Me too." She paused and flashed that thin smile. "You'll be fine." "Then we're separate," I replied. I pulled the dishwasher open, stacked my plate, ran the cycle, and set my travel mug in the rack. I grabbed my laptop bag, locked my home office door behind me, and texted Wade from the hockey league. "Need to swing by before work. 10 minutes. He sent a thumbs up. Melissa noticed the locked office when she came back for her keys. She rattled the handle. "What is this?" "Boundary," I said. "Work calls are quiet again." She stared like it should embarrass me. It didn't. She left. I hit Wade's garage on the way to my job. Wade's a warehouse supervisor who speaks in logistics terms, even about life. "You going to document what happened last night?" he asked, tossing me a shop rag. "I'm not writing a complaint," I said. "I'm writing policy. Next time she turns our marriage into a stage, I pull the plug on the show. Meaning separate schedules, separate rides, separate plans. No more handing her my calendar to beat me with." He nodded. "Controlled distribution. I like it." We bumped fists and I drove to the office with a clear head. The first week, she shifted to smaller, colder moves. She stopped answering texts about dinner timing and started coming home late with no explanations. When I asked what was up, she went minimalist. "Out with the girls." "Which girls?" "You don't know everyone." "I know enough to expect a name." She shrugged. This became her favorite response. Shoulders up, chin tilted, phone face down. At night, she lay there like a roommate who'd missed rent again. By Friday, I made it plain. The kitchen clock ticked loud between us, while Cody practiced reading at the table and Penny colored nearby. "I'm not chasing you," I told her after the kids went upstairs. "If you want distance, take it honestly." She snorted. There it is. The plea. Classic. That wasn't a plea. So what then? Terms. I slid a notepad across the counter. I'm setting my gym hours early. I'll be home by 6 if there's a family plan. If there isn't, I'll eat with friends. I'm splitting our joint checking account. Your late nights aren't my expense. She folded her arms. You're being dramatic. I'm being organized. I'd already opened a second account at our credit union and redirected half my direct deposit there, $2,800 monthly into the family account for bills, mortgage, and kids' expenses. The rest stayed separate. She pushed the notepad back with one finger. Do your little systems. I don't need permission. I'm not offering it. That weekend, I took the kids fishing at Lake Louisville with my brother-in-law, Bryce. I didn't text updates to Melissa. I sent one message Sunday night. Back by 9 with kids. She read it and left me undelivered. Cody caught his first base that day, a small one, but his grin was worth the 3-hour drive. Penny fell asleep in her car seat on the way home, clutching the plastic tackle box I'd bought her. These were the moments that mattered, not whatever game Melissa was playing with her friends. Monday, she amped the sarcasm. She took calls at the dinner table and laughed at conversations I couldn't hear. When I asked who it was, she gave me the teacher voice. Don't interrogate me. I asked a normal question, and I passed. She grabbed her purse. I'm going out with people who don't need a roster. Her smile sharpened. Enjoy the kids. I went to the freezer and pulled frozen pizza. I don't use hunger as leverage against my own children. The kids and I ate dinner while watching a nature documentary. Penny asked why Mommy was always gone now. I told her Mommy was spending time with friends. She stepped closer before leaving. You're not even curious, she prodded. I'm specific. If you want me to know, you'll say it. If you don't, I'll spend my attention wisely. She rolled her eyes and left. I locked the door behind her. That sound felt like a line drawn with permanent marker. Later that week at another soccer practice, Melissa did the same routine with a new twist. The parents clustered around the field sideline while the kids ran drills. You know what Gerald's good at? She asked the parent circle. Trying. He's got those Eagle Scout vibes, always trying to fix things. Adorable. Nicole laughed too loud, then glanced at me. She's known me longer than Melissa has. You good? She asked quietly. I took a sip of water and set the bottle down slow. I'm great, I told the group. From today on, if anyone builds jokes with my name, they get silence from me at home. I charge for material now. A little hush followed. Wade's wife Harmony raised her hands like, not me. Melissa flashed teeth. Is that a threat? She poked. No, pricing, I said and stood. Nicole, thanks for organizing snacks. Wade, see you Thursday night. On the drive back, Melissa cranked the radio, like that solved anything. The kids were quiet in the back, sensing tension they couldn't name yet. At the house, she cut the engine and finally faced me. You can't embarrass me in front of my friends, she snapped. You did the warm-up, I did the closer, I answered. I told you once. Next time I act, no warning, this was the warning. She glared. You think this is winning? I think it's respect. She stormed inside. I spent an hour in the garage organizing my tools and letting that sentence settle into the foundation. But something was wrong. Her late nights got later. Her phone stayed glued to her palm like a lifeline. When I asked simple questions about her day, she deflected like I was conducting surveillance. 2 weeks of observation made the pattern clear. She was hiding something bigger than attitude adjustments. The breaking point came on a Tuesday night. She announced at dinner that she'd be out with friends again, the 4th time that week. Cody asked if she could help him with his science project instead. Maybe tomorrow, baby, she said, without looking up from her phone. You said that? Yesterday, he replied quietly. That's when I made the decision. After she left and the kids were asleep, I called a guy named Hutchinson, recommended by Wade's cousin. Hutchinson is the kind of private investigator who speaks in facts, not theories. I need to know where she goes, who she meets, when, I told him across the table at a diner he chose 3 towns over. No commentary, just data. Perfect, I answered. I don't need adjectives. Standard surveillance package runs $1,500 for 3 weeks. Photos, timeline, locations, license plates. You want more than that? Just the truth. Truth costs extra, he said. $2,000 for the full package, but you'll know everything. I thought about our budget. The separate account I'd opened had grown to $4,200 over 6 weeks. Do it. Let me pause the story for just a second. If you're still listening, please hit the like button on this video. It really helps YouTube show this story to more people. Thank you so much for the support. Now, let's get back to the story. Back home, I went operational. I moved important documents out of the home office into a locked safety box at the bank. Birth certificates, insurance policies, our kids' social security cards. I started photographing account statements and storing copies at my office. If this went where I thought it might, I wanted documentation secured. I texted Melissa, "Working late tonight, don't wait up." I wasn't working late. I was taking my time to think. Her reply came fast. "Okay." No questions, no concern, just okay. A wife of 8 years, mother of 2 small children, and my working late got the same response as a weather update. That told me everything. During this period, I had to explain Melissa's increasing absence to the kids. Cody asked direct questions. "Why doesn't Mommy eat dinner with us anymore?" Penny just clung closer during bedtime stories, like she sensed something shifting in her small world. "Mommy's busy with her friends right now," I told them. "But Daddy's here. I'm always here." 5 days into Hutchinson's surveillance, he called at 7 a.m. "We need to meet." "Good news or bad news?" "Just news, but you'll want to sit down for it." He delivered steady and clean at the same diner. Names, places, times, photos. Not one gentleman, but several rotating through what appeared to be a carefully orchestrated schedule. And the twist that hit me in the chest, but didn't stop me from breathing. The men were familiar. Fathers from the soccer league. Husbands of her closest friends. A different one for different late nights. "Timeline shows pattern," Hutchinson said, spreading photos across the table. Monday nights, parking garage downtown with subject A. Wednesday evenings, subject B's office building after hours. Friday nights, extended stays at subject C's residence while his wife travels for work. The photos were explicit enough to eliminate doubt, but not pornographic. Professional surveillance, not tabloid garbage. "There's more," he continued. "Text message intercepts show coordination. They're planning. Planning what? Your exit? There's a group chat with the wives, strategic discussions about asset division, custody arrangements, timeline for filing. Your wife isn't acting alone. This is a coordinated effort." I studied the images of my wife with men I'd shared beers with at team barbecues, men whose kids played with my kids, men who'd shaken my hand and called me buddy. "Email the full package to my attorney," I told him. "I don't want any of this on my phone or at my house." "You have counsel already?" "I will in 1 hour," he whistled. "You keep the blade sharp." "I keep it away from my own throat," I said. I drove directly to a small office above a coffee shop where a guy named Novak works. Novak doesn't talk like a typical lawyer. He talks like a contractor who's seen every kind of foundation problem. "We'll keep it clean," he said after reviewing Hutchinson's preliminary report. "No fireworks, paper, signatures, done. But if you show your hand too early, she'll poison your kids against you with her version of events. Let me handle the paperwork. You disappear for a couple weeks. Come back with the folder. Ground is yours. I can't leave my kids for 2 weeks. You can't protect them if she destroys your reputation first. Think strategically, not emotionally." He was right. If Melissa and her coordination team got ahead of the narrative, I'd be fighting an uphill battle in court and in the community. "Extended business training in Dallas," I said. "I can make that work for 10 days maximum." 10 days is enough. I'll file everything while you're gone. When you come back, we'll have signed papers waiting and a custody arrangement that protects your parental rights." I thought about Cody's science project and Penny's bedtime routine. Missing 10 days felt like abandoning them, but losing custody permanently would be worse. "Do it." The hardest part was explaining to Cody and Penny why Daddy had to go away for work. I sat them down in the living room on Sunday evening, the night before my planned departure. "I have to go to Dallas for training," I told them. "It's for 10 days. Penny climbed into my lap. "That's a long time?" "It is. But Mommy will be here, and I'll call you every night." Cody looked worried. "Will you miss my game Saturday?" "I'll be back before then," I promised. "And when I come home, we'll have more time together. Just you, me, and Penny." Something in my tone made him study my face. Kids know when the adults are holding back. 10 days in Dallas felt like 10 years. I stayed at an extended stay hotel near the airport and checked in with Novak daily. The legal machinery moved quietly in the background, while I maintained the appearance of normal business travel. I called the kids every evening at 7, right after dinner. Melissa's voice in the background sounded different, looser, like she was finally free to be herself. Without an audience she needed to manage. On day 8, Novak called with an update. Papers are ready, custody arrangement is favorable. She gets supervised visitation every other weekend until she demonstrates housing stability. You keep the house, primary custody, and your retirement accounts. She gets her car and half the savings. How much is half the savings? $11,400. Your separate account isn't part of community property since you opened it after documented marital breakdown. The math worked. I'd protected most of our assets while she was distracted by her rotation schedule. When do I come home? Tomorrow night. Let her know you're returning early from training. Don't mention anything else. I texted Melissa at 6 p.m. Training finished ahead of schedule. Driving back tonight. Home around 9. Her response took 20 minutes. Okay. Not great, or the kids miss you, or see you soon. Just okay. I drove back to Plano with divorce papers in a manila envelope on the passenger seat, listening to talk radio and thinking about what came next. The sun was setting behind me when I pulled into our driveway. The house looked different somehow. Same structure, but the feeling had changed. I walked through the front door and immediately knew something was orchestrated. They were already sitting in the living room, Melissa at the head. Her friends arranged like a tribunal. Nicole looked uncomfortable. The others looked pleased with themselves. Coffee cups, notebooks, phones, face down like evidence. "Daddy!" Penny ran to me from the kitchen. I picked her up and hugged her tight, breathing in her little girl scent of shampoo and fruit snacks. Cody appeared and wrapped his arms around my legs. "Hey, buddy, how was school today?" "Good. Mommy said you need to talk to her friends." I glanced at Melissa over the kids' heads. "Is that right?" She gestured at the couch across from their formation. "Sit. Kids, go upstairs and play." "Actually, kids can stay," I said. "This is their house, too." Melissa's expression tightened. "Gerald, upstairs, now." Her voice carried that edge she used when she wanted compliance without argument. 5 more minutes, I told them. Then we'll get ready for bed. They went upstairs reluctantly. I remained standing. "What's this? A book club?" Silence from the prosecution. I watched eyes flick between each other, the way people do when they've rehearsed lines and don't want to go first. Melissa straightened. "We've talked," she began. "All of us. We agree. This marriage isn't working anymore." "Which part?" I asked. "The marriage or the intervention you practiced?" She pushed past it. "We're done, Gerald. You can either sign a fair split or we can make it harder on everyone, including the kids." "We?" I asked. I scanned the row slowly. That's interesting wording, because if we're taking votes, I've got a question for the panel. I looked each one in the eyes. "Anyone here opposed to your husbands? Being Thursday night entertainment for my wife?" The room shifted from smug to still. I let the words sit like smoke. Nicole grabbed the arm of her chair. Melissa's face lost color without drama. I set my travel bag down and reached into the outer pocket, pulling out a thinner envelope. I dealt printed photos onto the coffee table like cards. No commentary, no pointing. The images met the overhead light. Nicole grabbed one, looked, and pushed back from the table so hard her chair scraped the hardwood. Harmony blinked fast and reached for her phone. Another friend muttered something incomplete. I leaned against the wall. "Just trying to calibrate," I said. "Your ethics seemed loud a minute ago." Melissa's voice came out smaller. "You're twisting things." "No," I answered. "I'm filing." I placed the divorce packet on top of the photos. "This is clean. You sign, I sign, we're done. You're not taking a penny that belongs to my kids, and you're leaving tonight." The living room erupted, not at me, at Melissa. A chorus of questions, accusations, denials, crosstalk turning into shouts. I watched like I'd paid admission. Nicole pointed at Melissa's phone and demanded access. Harmony insisted there must be an explanation, then saw a photo that removed explanations from the table. Melissa tried words like mistakes and complicated and not what it looks like. Those words failed like paper umbrellas in a tornado. The noise reached the upstairs. I heard footsteps and looked up to see Cody peeking around the corner at the top of the stairs, eyes wide. "Go back to your room, buddy," I called up. "Adults are having a discussion." He disappeared. In that moment, watching my 7-year-old's confusion, I felt the weight of what was happening. This wasn't just about Melissa and me anymore. This was about 2 kids who were about to learn that sometimes families break apart, and it's not their fault. When the volume peaked, I stood. "I'll be upstairs," I told no one. "You all hash out your sisterhood code." Upstairs, I found Cody in Penny's room. They were both sitting on her bed, holding each other. Penny was crying quietly. "Hey," I said softly, sitting on the edge of the bed. "Come here." They both climbed into my lap, these 2 perfect people who didn't deserve any of this chaos. "Are you and Mommy getting divorced?" Cody asked directly. He was old enough to understand the concept from friends at school. "Yes," I said simply. "We are." "Is it because of us?" "No, never because of you. Sometimes grown-ups can't figure out how to be married anymore, but that doesn't change how much we love you." Penny sniffled against my chest. "Where will Mommy live?" "Somewhere close by. You'll still see her. But you'll live here with me most of the time." "Will I still see Mommy every week?" Penny asked. "Every other weekend," I said. "And she can call you anytime." The shouting downstairs had turned into quieter, more intense conversations. Car doors started slamming. Outside, the tribunal was breaking up. "I need to finish talking to the adults," I told them. "But first, who wants to help me make pancakes for breakfast tomorrow?" Both hands shot up, small victories and big moments. "Good. Now, Cody, you're the big brother. Take care of Penny while I handle this, okay?" He nodded solemnly. At 7 years old, he was already learning lessons about responsibility he shouldn't have needed yet. Downstairs, the living room had emptied except for Melissa. She sat alone at the coffee table, fingers pressed to her temples, staring through the wood grain. The photos were scattered where her friends had dropped them. She didn't cry. I don't think she had tears left after facing that firing squad. "They're gone," she said without looking up. "Good." I went to the closet and pulled down her suitcases, the same ones we'd used for our honeymoon 8 years ago. I packed methodically, clothes, shoes, makeup case, personal items. I wasn't vindictive, just thorough. When I brought the cases downstairs, she finally looked at me. "I have nowhere to go tonight." "You had options," I replied. "You chose them. Now choose another." "Can I at least explain about the kids?" "You explained repeatedly in different parking lots around town," I said. "The kids will be fine. Better than fine." She flinched. "I messed up. I know." "I know," I said. "And I'm not your rehabilitation program." "Doors open. Take your things." She stood slowly. "I need to say goodbye to them." "You'll see them this weekend. Supervised visitation starts Saturday at 10 a.m., 1 hour at Chuck E. Cheese." "That's not enough time." "It's what the custody agreement says. Prove you can handle that consistently, then we'll discuss more." She took the handles. At the doorway, she turned back. "You're heartless." "No," I corrected. "I'm not your husband anymore, and I'm their father first." I stepped aside. She rolled the cases down the porch steps like the sound might change my mind. It didn't. A rideshare pulled up like she'd called it earlier. She loaded the bags, said something to the driver, and didn't look back. The taillights disappeared at the end of our street. I closed the door, locked it once, then twice, then checked it again. I went upstairs and found both kids asleep in Penny's bed, curled up together like puppies. I covered them with a blanket and turned off the light. The signing at Novak's office 3 days later took 15 minutes. He flipped pages. I initialed where he pointed. "She signed everything without changes," he said. "No lawyers, no negotiations, clean break." "Good. Keep it boring and you'll keep your peace." I took my copy of the documents, paid his remaining fee of $3,200, and drove home with the windows down. The next weeks fell into a new rhythm: school pickup, dinner together, homework help, bedtime stories. The kids adapted faster than I expected. Children are resilient when the chaos stops and consistency begins. Melissa showed up for her first supervised visit that Saturday. She looked smaller somehow, driving a Honda Civic instead of the Suburban we'd shared. She spent the hour at Chuck E. Cheese watching Cody and Penny play games, buying them pizza they were too excited to eat. When she brought them back, Penny hugged her goodbye without the desperate clinging I'd feared. Cody gave her a polite hug and ran inside to tell me about the skee-ball tickets he'd won. "They seem okay," Melissa said quietly. "They are okay. Can we talk sometime about increasing visits?" "Show consistent attendance for 6 weeks," I replied. "Then we'll discuss it." She nodded and left without argument. 6 weeks later, paperwork complete and routines established, I realized something. I didn't miss the chaos. I didn't miss walking on eggshells or being someone's punchline. I missed the family I thought we were, but I was grateful for the family we actually were now. The kids and I developed our own traditions. Sunday morning pancakes became sacred. Friday night was movie night with homemade popcorn. Cody joined Little League, and Penny started dance classes. We went to Lake Louisville every other weekend, just the 3 of us. 3 months after the papers were signed, I met Candace at Penny's dance recital. She was there with her daughter Maya, who was in Penny's class. Single mom, works as a pediatric nurse, talks about her garden when she's nervous. We got coffee afterward while the girls played at the park nearby. She didn't ask about my divorce immediately. I didn't volunteer the drama. "Maya's father isn't in the picture," she said eventually. "It's been just us for 2 years." "It's been just me and the kids for 4 months," I replied. We watched our daughters teaching each other cartwheels in the grass. Natural, uncomplicated, honest. "This is nice," she said simply. "Yeah, it is. I'm not shopping for a fairy tale. I'm building a quiet, solid life that doesn't need an audience or require managing someone else's chaos. The kids know their dad keeps his word, shows up consistently, and puts their needs first. If there's a lesson, it's this. You can't negotiate respect. You set the standard and enforce it quietly if possible, firmly when necessary. And when someone chooses the exit, you don't chase them. You close the door and focus on what matters most. The last time I saw Melissa was at Cody's school concert 2 weeks ago. She sat 3 rows behind us, alone, watching our son play trumpet in the beginner band. When the performance ended, she approached carefully. "He's getting good," she said. "He practices every day." "I know. He told me during our visit." She looked at Cody, who was packing up his instrument with focused concentration. "Can I take him for ice cream after next Saturday's visit?" "Ask him. If he wants to, yes." She smiled smaller than I remembered. "Thank you." I watched her walk away, then helped Penny collect the flowers we'd brought for Cody. My son ran over, trumpet case in one hand, music folder in the other. "Did you hear me play, Dad?" "Every note. You were fantastic." He grinned and grabbed my hand. Penny took the other one. We walked out together into the Texas evening. 3 people who'd learned that sometimes the best families are the ones you rebuild from what remains. Our story ends where it should have begun, with respect, boundaries, and the understanding that the most important audience for your life is the one that shares your name and calls you Dad.